His state sits right on the U.S.-Mexico border. Roy Boyd is joining us, the Goliad County Sheriff in Texas, and Nelson Balido is the chairman of the Border Commerce and National Security Council. Thank you both for being here. Sheriff, starting with you, expectations from Governor Abbott.
I don't know what Governor Abbott's going to announce today, but you can be sure that it's going to be something of importance with regards to border security. Governor Abbott has led the way in the United States of America, picking up the mantle where the Biden administration dropped it. And he's been fighting ever since day one to try to secure the border and protect the people of Texas and the United States of America. And that's not going to stop. As we see historically, Governor Abbott is a man of action. So is his border czar, Mike Banks. And I'm sure they're going to have something that's going to be beneficial not only to Texas, but to all Americans.
Yeah. And of course, Governor Abbott was the person initially behind sending migrants who came into this country illegally to sanctuary cities where they would be welcomed with open arms. Because, again, in Texas, they decide to follow the law where you don't harbor illegal citizens. But it's different in places like Chicago and New York City, Nelson. And it does make you wonder, what's going to happen in this next administration and sanctuary city status. Do you see a lot of these cities relooking at the status, or could they double down?
Right. Well, thanks for having me this morning. Yeah, so you look at what's happening in New York already. They're realizing, the mayor's basically said, look, we're tired of having the problems. His community is complaining. It's costing them tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to house, feed, and keep the illegal migrants in the New York City area. And he said, hey, I want to meet with Tom Homan. To have Tom Homan come over here, let's sit down, let's work out a plan where we can work together and ultimately remove the criminals and other assailants from my area. Now, if we can only spread that to Portland, Los Angeles, and also Denver, Colorado, I think we'd really get somewhere. But no, there's no question. These I don't think we see an expansion. I think everybody's now finally cluing in that the people that are creating havoc, the migrant crime, need to be removed. The debate with some of these folks that are in these sanctuary cities is what happens to the other people? Well, look, there's hundreds of thousands on the low-hanging fruit, and Tom Homan has talked about it for months now, and so has President Trump, that these are where we're going to start. So it's going to get busy from day one. And I think Greg Abbott, when he comes here to Texas, just 2.5 hours here from where I live in Eagle Pass, I will tell you that he will announce a border policy, I believe, of working with the Trump administration hand in hand, using the land that was donated in Starr County, perhaps to put a new facility there for deportation. And ultimately what needs to happen, and I've talked to some of these folks, Mike Banks and others, what's going to happen is simply this: the catch and release policy is going to stop. No more catch and release. If we catch you, we're going to give you two options. Either you deport yourself, or we put you in jail and you get deported anyways. So there's going to be a quick court facility where they are going to have looking at immediate administrative judge on site to hopefully cure the situation before it gets out of hand.
Yeah,
that's
Sheriff,
not going to happen what we had before.
Sure, Sheriff. The governor's received so much pushback from this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, when it came to buoys in the Rio Grande, when it came to razor wire fencing. I mean, he was fought tooth and nail along the way, trying to implement any and everything they could to deter migrants coming into this country. We now know, again, in U.S. history, it is the largest crossing in one administration in this 4 years. Now that you have Trump coming into office, what would Texas look like?
Things are already starting to look different. You're going to see that partnership that we've talked about between the Trump administration and Abbott's administration and across the state of Texas and law enforcement. But things are already changing. Earlier this week, law enforcement has already begun to encounter people from third world countries who are here illegally that are making their way south to self-deport themselves, repatriate themselves back to their own homelands. As a matter of fact, Jackson County encountered 3 at a truck stop earlier this week. They received a call on them when they got there. They asked them what they were doing there. They said that they know they're going to be deported, and so they were going to go ahead and go home on their own. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that. You could potentially see more than 1 million people pack up and leave the country in an effort to not be rounded up and deported. But I think with Trump coming in, him having Tom Homan, him being familiar with Mike Banks, and Governor Abbott and President Trump being familiar with each other, they're all on the same page. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a unified effort to provide the safety and security for the citizens of the United States of America, the safety and security they've deserved forever, but have been denied during the last 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration.
Yeah. You know, Nelson, what happens to the CBP One app? I always thought it was strange that you could essentially, qualify for certain citizenship status or temporary status by filling out an application through your phone. Where's really the verification on that? Does that continue into Trump administration 2.0?
I don't think it does. And it's interesting you say that. So there's still 1,500 people a day crossing the border through the CBP One app today. The other thing that they're not talking about is there's still hundreds of people coming in on these flights that are funded by taxpayers into the United States. They're not thousands, but they're hundreds. And there's still about 900 to 1,000 illegal crossers a day still coming over that border, because I talk to Border Patrol every day, and that's from San Diego to Brownsville. It's less, but more. But to your point, I think the CBP One app needs to stop immediately. And people need to understand there's no asylum seekers anymore, because we've got to remember 89% of those people that are applying never show up to court. So they're lying on their application, seeking asylum, saying they have credible fear, and they can never go back. They never go to court to prove the credible fear they have. Now they're becoming illegal in the United States. And that's the problem that you can continue to have.
Yeah, very low threshold to gain access to this nation through that app. Roy Boyd and Nelson Balido, thank you both. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.